So, kind of some fun news actually for you guys before we get started. Beth and I just started this together last month. And so, some of you, if you're returning, thank you. Good to see you guys. We're actually going to be starting to do this twice a month. And so, the plan is that Beth and I are going to always be here, but we'll rotate some of our ops teams every month and bring some of our operations in. And then for the other session, we're going to bring in a guest, team leader, and operations to also talk about the same topic. So this month, it's going to be Beth and I going over some of our comp plans today. And then in a couple weeks, we're going to bring on a couple of our team members, and they're going to go over more kind of back end stuff with you guys today. So that is the topic is comp plans today. And Beth, I don't know if you have anything to add on
I would
that.
just add that my director of ops is here in case there's any questions during the Q&A or kind of roundtable discussion part. Why we think it's so important to have both the team leader and the ops is that it's just different roles, different responsibilities. And then sometimes, I know as a team leader, we can get on a call and our ops person isn't there. And then they're the ones that do it or we can't answer. And so that's why it's nice to have both people working together. And that's one of our goals is have a space that you're hearing the same information from two different sides and moving forward. So I just to take like a couple of minutes to and introduce in case you don't know Siri and I'll start this and then Siri, you can start. My name is Beth Nordowney. I've been in real estate for more than 20 years. I've had a team since 2010. So I've done like top producing agent plus four assistants. I've done, small team, medium team, large team, and now kind of in that mega, although not as mega as Siri. One of the things that I'm interested in, and like today I'm in Connecticut, is taking this kind of the ops, the training, all the stuff that took, I guess, 14 years to build and helping other people not make mistakes, fast track, kind of plug in. So this is part of that as well. But I love organizational structure training, building business, like with the people side of things. So I'm out of production. I've been out of production for 6 years. Maybe I still do. Maybe last year, I think I did 5 listings. Once in a while, someone gets me to um,
Mhm.
help them. But I still have that spot for some people. But Siri, how about you tell us a little bit
Yeah,
about
so yeah, I'll kind of, breeze through here. I'm saying over 20 years, and I know, did all the phones go off?
Yes.
Over 20 years, I started the team, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago now. I'm kind of losing track, but I was a solo producer for like 16 years, just really kind of slaying it. And got exhausted with that and said, hey, well, the next step is to build a team. And the interesting thing is there's really no manual or book or anything like that. What we're really trying to create is something like that for you guys, where, like Beth said, you can plug and play in and kind of learn from some of the mistakes that we've had, because a lot of this is trial and error. So, again, shout out to my agents that are living through this with me, because a lot of it really, it's like raising a kid. Like, you don't know when you have a kid really what you're doing. We're all kind of growing up together and trying to do the best we can. And so, what we want to try to do is alleviate some of that, those pain points for you guys, and show you, some of these things. The other thing, and just to kind of also expand on a little about me, is that we do have a mega team. Our team reached about 100 at one point last year, and then, which we'll go into some of this with why, but we then shrunk down to, we're in the 50-ish range as far as agents go, and then we have some operational staff and stuff too behind that, as well as VAs, and we're doing great. So we'll kind of fill you guys in on what that looks like, and things like that. Again, trial and error. But I really also want to emphasize, you guys, use the chat. I'm going to open it up here on the side. Use the chat so that if you guys want to put anything in there, you're sure welcome to, and we'll grab that. And then, feel free to open it up. When we want this to be a roundtable for you guys to be able to communicate, because there's things that we would also like to learn from you all
Mhm.
and share together. So this isn't just us coming and teaching. You are all the teachers as well. I just want to emphasize that.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's why if anybody like, or if Jill or Brenna or Liz, anyone wants to answer questions, if please feel free to hop on. And I just love to say, one of the things I think Siri and I are really important is it's just no dumb question. Like you cannot ask something that is, I love that even on the team, even if it seems like, well, I don't know, maybe I should know that, or I've heard this, or I don't want to say that. Like someone else is probably thinking it. And if they aren't, we all learn. So just please, there's no
Yeah,
judgment from anybody. And that's one of the biggest things we need is just these open spaces where you can talk about anything, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So I think one thing that we'd like to do just to start out, I know right now there's like 23 people that are currently watching live, is you have if you don't have a team, and I'm going to do Sharon because it does work a little bit. I mean, it does. I say this all the time, but today I'm legit going to do it. If you want to have a team and you don't currently, put a one. If you have a, maybe one agent in an admin or an ops, put two. Small team. Three, we'll consider a small team like less than five, right? Is that what we know we're always kind of,
Hmm.
medium team, let's just say you're under 12, and then large is maybe under 24 would be a five. And then if you have over 25, like a six, just so we can kind of tailor the
Leave
conversation
the
to
room.
the
Yeah.
majority. So it looks like one starting, a medium, a lot of small teams right now. Cool. All right.
Thanks.
That's super helpful. Thank you. All right. Just really quick, Brenna, do you want to put up the agenda? That's the second one, I think, just so everyone kind of see what we're going to do in our time that we have here. All right. So we did an introduction and we know who's in the room, everybody, at least size wise. We already kind of did an overview. We'll do a little bit more. The key topic today, which we're going to spend, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, because like Siri said, we want to have time to be able to discuss it. We're just going to talk about if you don't have a clear comp plan, some of the problems, and just how do you like ultimately make sure that you're getting a good like a return on investment, which means you're running a business and you want to make sure it's profitable, and your energy, the people, like the cost, everything that goes into it is going to work out. We'll do Q&A. And then we'll talk briefly, just a recap again. We kind of already said it, but when the next session is, and just a reminder. So you can go ahead and go to the next one. So I think if you haven't experienced this, does everybody, again, if one, yes, two, no, it's super helpful. Do you feel like you have a clear compensation plan between like what you want to do and like your agents know it and what they're getting paid on any kind of transaction that they would do? Buy, seller, past client, team lead? One for yes is clear, two for maybe not as clear as I'd like it to be. So
Got a couple ones in there.
ones,
Good. Yeah, no, too. I'd be curious too when we open it up, see what you guys are doing. That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we won't have to spend a lot of time here, but let's just go to the next slide quick just to talk about, why this is so important and why we want to talk about it today. So I've been coaching team leaders and teams since, I guess, 2012. And the things that I see constantly looking at the finances of teams is that if you don't have a clear compensation plan, meaning, and I'm gonna clarify, clear means I know what the team's revenue is. I know my expenses being one of them, what you're paying to the agents. And so that hopefully your team actually has profit to it. So it's like an asset, and you could sell it, someone would buy it and they could run it. When you don't have this clear plan, what can happen and what we see is like people have too many people, right? Like maybe we'll see, um, I'll give an example of me. An inefficient one would be I had me and four admin. Okay. So how now do I have three admin doing 500 transactions? Like that's crazy, right? That's probably, we see it a lot where I'll talk to somebody and they'll have like eight admin people. I'm not talking about marketing, just admin. So what can happen is they're not profitable because it's out of balance. Do you want to say anything with that, Siri, or?
No, no, I think
Okay.
you got it there.
The next one, right, is obviously your agents aren't performing, they're not motivated. I've experienced that where maybe they don't understand compensation and what they're paying. So they're just not, I've heard this before, right? They only, when we've got, they only want to do their deals. They don't want to do the team deals. I mean, that's kind of something that can come up, or if they feel like it's not worth it, they may not do it. It's tough to grow because if we don't have money coming back into our business and revenue, we can't, we don't have capital. So unless we get volunteers, which I haven't found any yet, it's really tough to like grow it. Cash flow issues, which kind of goes in with that. Lack of direction is like I kind of talked about that too, keeping people motivated, developing leaders. Okay, because if you ever do have a desire to go beyond a small team, you have to have other people help you. Like you cannot do the all the pieces of it, right? And so you are going to have to somehow compensate others because nobody else is going to do it for free if they're not owner of the business. And also, it's really tough when we don't have a clear compensation plan. Is like, how do you have those conversations when an agent comes to you and says, well, I can go on this team and get X or Y? And it's like, it just does starts to become, sometimes I've seen this like race to the bottom of like, just like I see with commission, right? Of like, how little can I take to try to keep agents? And I can say there's a different way. So that's just kind of something I always like to start about why it's important. I don't remember. We can go. The next slide, I think, is all right. So the key topic that we're going to talk about is just the vision of what is important in having a comp plan. So Siri, do you want to start on just kind of Sierra? I'm seriously going to
Yeah, so
down.
I'll give a
Stop
little
this
kind of,
share. Yeah.
no, you're good. I'll give a little history of just kind of some of our journeys of that stuff is, when I was told, hey, we're going to start a team. And I know that there's teams out there that work this way. We were a 50-50 model at that time. And what did that mean? That meant that as the team lead, I was able to pay for pretty much everything for the agents, from signs to, I remember they were ordering stuff on Amazon. It was, really, it was leveraging the agents to be able to really do whatever they needed to do. And so what happened was 50-50, meaning 50-50 on team leads, 50-50 on the agent's SOI or their sphere. And so we had more revenue coming in so that I could then take that. And I always call it like a co-op, is what I tell the agents. It's a co-op together, right? We're collecting it and then we're going to push it out back to you guys. And they seemed to like that for a while. And then, just kind of hitting on what Beth was saying, the kind of the demographic of our area started to change, and other teams started to offer different platforms for the agents to be able to have a higher SOI. And so we had to be hyper aware of what other teams were around. And the feedback that we got from the agents was that they wanted to have a better split on their sphere. So me being the people pleaser I am, said, that's great. Let's do that. The issue was we didn't really have a clear picture at that time of what was our cost per agent. We had P&Ls coming in, but we weren't looking at them as closely as we are now, down to pretty much the penny. And when we made that transition, all of a sudden the agents still had that mentality of, hey, well, I need you to help me pay for this, and I still want this. Hey, I want to order this on Amazon, right? But the money really wasn't coming in. And so, we were making them happy over on one side, but the business wasn't profitable enough to maintain it. And so we had to make some adjustments in that fairly quickly. Um, and so, just looking back again, trying to help you all realize that how important it is to dive into understanding your cost per agent, your behind the scene P&L, and all those costs before you make those changes. That was one of the things that I learned, fairly quickly, trial and error, that we needed to adjust those things. So I would actually be curious if you guys wouldn't mind putting in the chat what your comp plans are currently for both team and SOI. I'd be curious to just see how you guys are rolling that on that end. And I can share a little bit of what we're doing now too, but Beth, I'll let you kind of talk.
Yeah, I'll kind of
more.
tell my story too. I think one of the things that happens is you're a top producing agent, and maybe this doesn't happen anymore. You guys can let me know, but you think, okay, I have more business than I can handle. I want to be able to help these people that want my help because I feel like I'm doing something different or better in the marketplace. So I am going to try to find after admin, like first it's an admin or maybe not. Some people do an agent. I did admin first. Then it was like, I need another agent. And so you bring that on, and in the beginning, it can look like everything is a win because I was like getting all my commission and paying all the expenses. And now I might get some additional commission from this other agent, and it should offset my expenses. So I should come home with more. Right. So that can work. And I think one of the, I don't know, I don't want to say it's things that I learned in that is like you really didn't factor in your time, your mentorship, your energy that you're sharing with them. You were just looking, I was looking at it as just kind of an offset. And then when they leave, and I've coached a lot of team leaders, when the first person leaves, it's like heart-wrenching because you're like, I poured my whole life into them and I can't believe they left me after a whole year and I gave them all these deals and I spent all these hours with them and then they're just gone. Like that's really a tough one. And then we got into Zillow and we were doing, market-based pricing and paying for advertising. And there was a year I met with my accountant and kind of like Siri, not having a consistent understanding of what things cost, not having an understanding of what a P&L and a balance sheet even was. No idea. I was like, math was like my worst subject. And really, and the accountant came in and I looked at the numbers and it didn't make sense to me because I actually took home less than like 50%, right? I mean, because I looked at what the team members made and I made less and I was out producing 67 deals a year. So I was doing as much as they were. And it was the Zillow bill. So I was doing a 50-50 across the board, just like Siri. So that was one thing is like not factoring in the cost of those leads, which I think that's an old thing. Like everybody I hope everyone understands that. It seems like there are more people out there that do. So that was like huge. So we started upping like what they actually got. We did went to a 60-40, but that was the year I really seriously, when I looked at, I didn't even make my commission. I better learn how to read numbers and how to understand costs because this is like, I can remember I had a team meeting and I sat everyone down and I felt scared that I was going to lose everybody because I promised this 50-50. I felt like I had to change it and I made this agreement with what I was going to do. But ultimately, it went better than I thought. I sat everyone down and said, as much as I really care about all of you, and at this time, I think there was maybe 4 or 5 agents. I'm like, I can't do this just for fun. Like, this is like my life. You put so much into it, right? It was like, I have to make this change, and here's why. And I think I realized the importance of transparency. And ever since then, it's just been an evolution of still remaining competitive but also understanding what you're charging and why. So like Siri said, I just echo that, knowing what does an agent physically cost you to be on your team? What are the system costs, the subscriptions, their burden, not burden, their taxing, like taxation on your staff. Your time is worth something. You're giving something. That way, when you are getting paid for coaching and training and mentorship, if they just choose to leave, at least you got something for your time, which I think is huge. So I will say too, it has been ongoing. We just changed ours again. So right, Siri? I mean, it has been change over 12 years. I
Yeah.
think we finally are at as tight as we can get. Like I know right now, unless something drastically changes, I don't know if it would ever get any better at this point. It's like, this is the
Yeah.
bare bones, right? Of what
I
we,
feel like we're at that too. We just made
yeah.
some changes as well. And I'd love you guys keep dropping in the chat. I love seeing what you guys are doing. Obviously, your model's going to be a little different, your market's going to be a little different. But I think it's really important for people to see what others are doing and understand that. And then again, we'll open this up for you guys to talk maybe a little bit more on this. But yeah, so I want to share just a little bit. So again, 50-50 is what we had started at, and then we went to a whole other extreme model of giving our agents a 90-10 on their SOI, and then the team leads have pretty much stayed consistently 50-50. I have seen some teams do a 60-40, but that's really where we have to stay tight on our team leads. We went all the way to a 90-10, and that's okay when you're having a high volume. And my thought process was, okay, I'm going to just keep on bringing more agents. We can just roll high numbers. And what you run into with that is something that we brought up in the list is non-producing agents. So just because you're bringing in more bodies
Mhm.
doesn't mean that you're going to be bringing in more income, right? And
Right.
so yeah. And so what happened is, you know, what happens is your top producers are basically paying for those non-producers, and that's not fair and that's not right to them either. And so we had to find a balance on how we were going to run that model. And we just recently this year, and I'm pretty stoked on where we are right now, and so I'll share it with you guys, is we run a still 50-50 team model. We have agents like Christian, who is in our elite program. And we have, I think, Christian, we have four agents, right, on our elite. And they have to meet a closing threshold of how many deals they've closed. And it's team or SOI on our team. It doesn't matter if it's team or SOI as of now. We may dig into a little bit deeper onto that in 2025 and see how this rolls. But there's four agents that still maintain that 90-10 split. And then the rest of the team ish, and I'll tell you why ish. And that will be, you know, maybe something for Wendy to kind of elaborate on is the rest of the team is at an 80-20 SOI. And we did the math on this, and I have Keely on here, who's my director of ops. Hi, Keely. She's the one that does all the math because I'm not. There she is. I asked Keely one day, I said, hey, Keely, what is our, you know, what's our cost per agent? What does this look like for us? We also compared to previous, we had some of our agents on a 70-30 or a 75-25. We kind of had agents all over the place, just depending on when they came in. So we had most on a 90-10 and some on this. And she ran the numbers, and it actually made more sense for us to bring everybody to an 80-20. And then our elite agents get a 90-10. And so, sorry, I'm a squirrel. I just got distracted in the chat. um, so the other part of this is the 80-20 is our traditional program where those are the agents that are getting leads. But what we found was not all agents needed to be on our team and still get leads. And so what we created was our independent program. And our independent program, which is a really cool program, and I, you know, kind of shout this, is that Wendy's on that. So Wendy is on another split, which is 85-15 for her split. And I hope you guys don't mind that I'm sharing this, but you know, it's how we're structured here. um, and so her split is a little different. She still has all of the every capacity of our team. It's just there's no lead management, and there's a cost for us to manage agents with leads. So I like to share that with you guys because personally, I'm pretty stoked on where we are with everybody. I feel like we're going to have a really solid year. You know, again, as long as our agents produce, and I always end our team meetings with go sell homes. I need them to go sell homes. I need them to go sell homes so that we can pay for all these cool things that we're doing for them and all of the operational, administrative side of things like that. But if that helps you guys a little bit, and I don't know if Christian and Wendy, you guys have anything you want to add with the journey or where your thoughts are. Again, be candid. I would love that. Yeah, Wendy.
Yeah, sure. And Christian Judson too. First of all, I just like the flexibility. So for the first year, because it was my first year being on a team, I learned a lot and I got team leads and I worked them, etc. But at the end of the year, I realized that by being on a team lead, I was getting distracted from my SOI potentials. So it's just
Mhm.
nice to be able to have an easy transition into my SOI to
Yeah.
be the bulk of my business. So that's my big appreciation for the team and the leadership. I mean, it's just really great. I personally do not plan to build my own team, but I was in corporate America up in Silicon Valley for 25 years and understand the investment behind the curtain, so to speak, that most people probably don't understand themselves. And this is just an opportunity for me to get a little bit more familiar with how the business is run and how I potentially can contribute and help make that easier for
Yeah.
the leadership team.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've
thank you,
changed a
Amy. Yeah.
lot, and I've been on the team like going on 5 years, I think 6 years now or something like that. And there's definitely been so many changes. And yeah, we used to have parties a lot more and do a lot more stuff with the 50-50, when it was all just a 50-50 splits. Um, but the 90-10, I think, is really awesome, like rewarding those producing agents for all their hard work. Now they get to take home more money to their families. But at the same time, 80-20 is still a great SOI split. I mean, at the end of the day, that's still a great split. And 50-50 for the amount of leads and help that we get from the team for the team splits is honestly good. So especially as a
Yeah.
new agent, a hungry new agent, like being on Sari's team was like crucial in like making me successful because I was able to get so many opportunities. I joined her team when I was 20 years old. So I mean, like I was a young kid, no sphere, and having all these opportunities with the leads was basically kind of what kickstarted my whole career. And so I mean, I think 50-50 is worth it all day. And I'm really happy with the structure now, but I think it is important to reward the producing agents with the better split, and then give people something to work towards and a goal to have. So
Yeah, you earned it, Christian. Like Christian earns that now, right? So, and then, there's also ways for them to pop into leadership. Like Wendy's on our agent advisory. I think, are both of you
yeah, I
mentors? I
am
think
too.
both of
Yeah.
you are mentors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so there's different ways that they can grow into the company and, find, and obviously they get some percentages off of all of that stuff too. So it's really important. It's not just these splits. It's really important to find ways for your agents to grow within the company and give back and support. So it's not just 50-50 or, these standard things. It's also growth and helping them to be successful and happy. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
Maybe I'm going to speak on a few things as someone who comes from currently a low, high transaction, low volume, like low price point, average sales price, right? Because I think if I'm going to give an example, like let's say the average commission is, 8,000 gross, right? And that's even high. Okay. But let's just say it's 8 or 9 and I got 10% in $900. That's not going to cut it. So I just wanted to say, like, I think why this is so great and why I don't think
Yeah.
there's one way and why it's important to know your numbers is that's why you can't just look at, what you hear out there. It's good to consider it, but you have to understand that's why these costs, right? Because it's like a cost of an agent. For example, like what I figured out is like 3 million is our break even. So 3 million, because we do have a team, and I think it goes down to like, what are you offering and what are your services? So we have like marketing, we have like ops, we've got someone doing business development, we've got a coordinator, we've got crazy subscriptions, we could pay for listing costs, we pay for signs. I mean, it's a lot. And so we take, because I think the one thing is just it's okay to be transparent and understand what you're getting. And that's what's tough too. And God, we could talk on this for a long time, but
So one thing you brought up, so by the way, next month we're going to be going into what do you provide. So we will
yeah,
we will tell you guys. So that's why I think showing comps, and then next month we'll go into what do you provide,
yep.
because what is that value that you're giving back and what does that look like?
What
And
does it
one of the
cost,
things I
right?
also wanted to add,
Yeah.
yeah, one of the things I also want to add is like I'm actually back in production. And I've been on meetings, and so in the past, my production went back into the team, and I was out of production-ish, kind of like Beth, where it started to slow down to maybe 5 or 6 transactions a year. But the thing is those were pretty hefty transactions and fees that were going back into the company. And I realized that those need to be separated. So my production, and I'm back in production, goes separate. That's not what's fueling the team. That's my own thing on the side. And so I am okay with running a model that is slim. My profits were a lot higher when I was a 50-50. I'm not making on the back end, me personally, and I am an employee of the company and I have a salary myself, but the company is not making as much as it was when I was had those higher splits, or I guess lower splits, like that. So, or 50-50. And so I'm okay with that because guess what? The company has the right people in place. We've got great agents. People are happy. The culture is good. And now I'm going to go out and work, and I'm having fun, and I'm okay doing that. And I'm going to go have my real estate job going. I have another company that I run as well. And so, and I'm looking this year to start another company or do some other venture. And so what's really cool is as team leads, you can start doing all these other things once you get these people in place. And profit's great, and we're doing well. Some months are going to be a little slower than others, and we just had a P&L to be transparent that was a little bit like, okay, well, it always happens this time of the year. It's not great, but then we start moving up, and we're okay. But you got to just find like what is it that you want. And for me, I want a great culture, an awesome company and team, and to be able to go out and do some other things and know I have the right people in place. That's me, right? So you got to find what works for you with your comp plans. I
Yeah.
could charge my agents more. I could drop a few admin and make more money, but that's not what's important to me personally.
I think the evolution of teams and what's really cool about the pro teams is that, um, we have the same sentiment. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity in like, what are you going to provide and like at what cost, right? Because there are people that need was it Wendy? You said like when you started on the team and it was your first year, right? And it's like, I need training, I need leads, I need support, I need, everything all in, all the systems. And so the team is a great place for me. I can't remember the gentleman that's on Series team, but right then there comes to a place where you're like, okay, maybe I'm producing, I'm not relying on the team as much. I'm gonna have these services, and that's what they're talking about in pro teams is being able to have different plans. I think the only
Yeah.
thing that I've learned always is one of my rules, and I think one of the things that people don't like, right, is when there's special deals. Like I've never had a special deal. Like it's open, it's based on production, it can be based on expectations. Like maybe you have leadership responsibilities, maybe you mentor, maybe you train. Are you same, Siri? Is like, or,
We had special deals, and
yeah.
that's my fault. I'll be transparent because, again, I'm the people pleaser, and Liv's shaking her head.
Yeah. Like, yeah,
Uh,
we not all up last year is too much. Yeah.
yeah, they fired me from that. Don't let the team lead make any deals. They've
Yeah.
completely fired
Yeah, no
me. Yeah.
deals. It just, yeah. And that way I think everyone understands like it's okay if you have different structures for different people. It's just that it's open, like anyone can see
It's
it,
earned.
have it, and it's earned
It's
or
earned.
it's earned.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's cool. Like maybe do you want to share the slide? I don't want to get too deep. I want to save time for questions. So let's just go to
Yeah.
we can, any offline questions or talk about it next time too. Next slide. So I think that you guys kind of talked about this, but what's important is just like when you're mastering the art is, understanding employee options. And I think Siri will talk about this next month when you talk about what you offer. Maybe if it's like in person, is it VAs, just different ways that you can look at what your expenses are. It is important when you're thinking about these ingredients of like what your comp plan is what's out there. What is your competition charging? What are they taking from the agents and what are they offering in return for the money they're taking? Do they have marketing? Are they covering listing costs? Is it more just transaction? What exactly do they do for transaction management? Do they communicate with the client? Do they just put it in reason? I mean, it's all across the board, but it's important to know these so that you understand why you're charging what you're charging and the agent can. So what is that agent paying for on your team versus other teams? I'm going to hit the next slide. So ultimately, when you look at an ROI for you and your team member, it's really dialing in those splits, and you dial in the splits, like as we're alluding to, by knowing what you offer, what your expenses are, what your costs are. There was some conversation around cap or no cap. And I think that there are a lot of agents that like obviously would love a cap. I think that one thing that's important And what we see is if it's generated from the team, they would not have that business. So I see more of a cap when we talk about, I know there's people doing just straight up caps, but when you look at the teams, I think their infrastructure and what they're offering is pretty low, and that's why they have caps. If you, I don't think that the cost, and this is maybe, it never goes away. There's a certain cost to doing every transaction, right? I mean, I don't care if it's a Sphere deal, like even if they generated it, so they did the marketing piece of it, but you still, part of the team, did they help fulfill on that contract, making it from the time that they met them till close? All that marketing, all those systems, all those tools, the people, it still is there. So having a cap to me, again, and maybe it's earned, or maybe it's at a certain point or with leadership that's there, but it's just a personal business decision of what you're trying to run and what your profitability is. And then like Siri talked about, and we have the same thing. Can an agent advance, or can they get a better deal? They really probably, that needs to be built in somehow, right? Is every person, every human in their work wants to be able to have growth and opportunity. So even if it is leadership, I sell more, I do a certain volume, do you get a better split as you become like less of a taxation on you or people on the team, is there something better? So I think that's important component to it. And one of the things that we changed the last, I guess it was a year ago, I think it was at the start of 22, right? Is that right, Jill? Started 22 and we changed our last go around with our comp plan. 21, 23. Well,
We
23.
like quarter 4 of this last year, and then
See why we need them?
Yeah, see, quarter 4. I mean, it's like, it's just, and we really do try not to change it. I mean, if we're changing, we're trying to change it for the better, and we're trying to figure out how we can give more, or that's our model. And I think, again, when you're not taking money that really, what am I paying for? People will leave. But we decided that year one, it's like no deal, right? There's so much that goes into an agent, like the first year or two, with training and support and questions and contracts and overview. Like that was a for sure. Like you got to spend 1 year on the team and have probably about the worst splits, but you're going to get a ton of mentorship and support and training and opportunity that will get you to a better place. But that is definitely something that I think is an important component. So I think that's the end. I think the other sides are the same. Is that right, Brenna? Yeah. So let's do some Q&A and some talk.
Yeah. So
Open
we'll
it
open
up.
it up to you guys with, with some of this stuff, and then we'll wrap up and we'll go over what we're going to be talking about in our next meeting in 2 weeks for you guys. We'll go a little bit deeper into some of these things too. So with that, it looks like we have some in the chat. I'm seeing, speaking of splits and stuff like that, comp plans 50-50 on SO, 50-50. Let's see, did I read that right? 50-50 on SOI and 70-30 on company leads? Did I read that right?
Is that right? Rudy? Is Rudy? I
Or
don't
is
know.
that other way around? Rudy? I don't know if Rudy's still here. 60-40 for everything with a tiered scale based on per million of production from prior year. And then 50-50 team, 75-25 SOI. They have an agent on a 90-10. He's a builder, pays all his expenses. So yeah, let's open it up to you guys. What are some of the things that you guys are seeing, or what do you have, or what can we help
Questions?
with? I think we had a question here about the marketing group as well, if you guys want to talk about that, because we actually just,
Yeah. So even Cindy has switched. It sounds like you switched to marketing team with Real.
yeah.
Oh, she left.
Do you guys know? Yeah, she had to bounce. Um, so do you guys know, and I know this isn't just Real based, I know there's some people that can jump on that's outside of Real, but at Real, we realized at first when we joined Real that you had to have at least 25% going to Real as a traditional team, and then that changed, and all you have to do is show 10. So a lot of our agents are now bouncing over to our traditional team off of the marketing group, and they're getting for us, we're a mega, so they have a 4K cap with Real.
So
And
what do you get? What
so,
are you doing like on a when you're in the marketing group or like the independent like that? Is that what you're
well,
saying?
at
Like
first,
marketing? Because
yeah,
then you're
our
on the
marketing group
12K.
at first, I think, is going to be retiring a little bit. We'll have it, but our marketing group was more that they could do their own self-branding and they could and they could do their own self-branding, and they had the higher split. They also had the $12,000 cap, but I think we've just cleared that up, and now what we're doing is anybody on the team, and we are called the brand, they should be able to self-brand if they want. So we're helping them with branding if they'd like. And then they earn basically their way into those splits as opposed to just saying, hey, I want to be over here on the marketing group. It didn't really make sense at the time. We did because of the restriction. So most of our agents are going on the 4K cap and then earning their way into higher splits with that.
No, my understanding
Um,
was that a marketing group, isn't a marketing group, you have to do a 12K, or am I wrong on that? Because I thought marketing,
mhm.
right, is
Marketing
like
is
you're
12.
doing the 12K, the full
Yeah,
12K,
Yeah.
and that's why you're doing
yeah.
marketing, right? And so a lot of people
Hmm.
like the 4 or 6.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't make sense to us anymore, and we needed to help our agents with the availability of a cap that we had. So with that change, we were able to make that jump over
My
and
understanding,
change.
I know a lot of people doing the marketing group, right? I mean, it was more like, hey, there's a group of us agents, we're going to go together, we're all
Yeah,
independent, we're going to share costs, right, as a marketing group.
yeah,
And that's why I think the pro teams is going to probably take off or replace that with
take
just being
over.
able to do different things with different people.
Yeah, yeah.
Do
One of
it.
the questions, how do you guys go about recruiting agents? I have one member who's an absolute awesome and a complete team player. Would love to have 10 of her. Hey, those are the unicorns. Love to have the unicorns. I think recruiting is kind of a whole session in itself that we can definitely dive deeper. But just kind of speaking onto comp plans with recruiting, of course, you're going to have agents that are looking at what your comp plans are, um, with coming over. But that's why I really like to have what we have here is we have a setup for agents to say, we have a few options for you, and we do have ways to land you higher by you earning it. So I feel like we're in a position where we can attract and recruit agents at a higher level. So I see a hand.
Joanne.
I just have a question, and it's not. I had an agent that approached me about coming to Real that's at EXP, but they closed about 98 deals. They closed 98 deals last year. In what my understanding is, he can come to Real and he can participate with us, but there's not really a way to be on my team, right? Because he wouldn't be able to become an elite agent.
Right.
And so like we can support him and he may bring more people in and he can like, is there a way to plug him into our systems without, or do we just say I mean,
No.
is it like
Maybe
Real family and we're just helping, or is there a way that I just see him as an independent agent of Real and he can grow a team out if he chooses, but it's not really, or refer him over. I just don't know what I don't know.
I think that the one thing, you can be an elite agent if you're on a team, like you get the status. So if you wanted to teach or do anything, you just don't get the stock. Like in order to get like the rewards from Real, that's where you have to be on a 12K cap, a full cap. So when that's where maybe that pro teams is going to be something that could work. I think the difference that my understanding, Siri, tell me if I'm wrong, because is that it has to do a little bit with brand though, right? I mean, isn't it like if they're on your team, or you can be on someone's team and have your own brand and name and everything? I mean, I guess you seem to know more about
Well,
that.
you could set up a marketing group within your team. So the name of your team, you can set up, like we have the Brand Realty on the back end of Real, we have the Brand Realty team, and the Brand Realty group is what we called it. And the Brand Realty team is our 4K cap, and then the group is our marketing team with Real, and that's the 12K. So you could technically have that person come on if they wanted to use your team name and branding under that marketing. They just wouldn't be able to get that lower cap.
Yeah.
They could use so I would maybe think about setting it up that way, at least with the current structure that Real
I think
has.
you should
That
try
could
to
be a
find a
way.
way to make it work. That was one of my mistakes, I feel like, in comp in the beginning, is I was so strict on like you know, it has to be a full-time agent. You have to be like, it has to be 50-50, right? Like years ago, it was like, we're not doing it for less, no special deals, and got so fixated on like that I think missing some of the opportunity, especially at Real, and there really wasn't before at the other brokerage. But there's like with this pro teams, there's got to be a way where it's like, okay, this is what does he need? There's a way, there's a reason why he wants to work alongside you or with you, right?
And the answer to that is he's just tired of being on his own. I think we're all
Yeah.
kind of tired of working from home and on our own. I have an office. He just wants to pop in and be part of, and he brings a lot to the table. He knows a lot about what's going on. So I'm just trying to figure out how to make that work, that we can all flow together. But I know that he'll be an elite agent. He's gonna want the stocks. I don't want
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
hold him up. He's a producing
I think the
machine.
marketing group.
Marketing group.
Yeah. Marketing group, I would check into that and then, come up with maybe either a flat monthly fee or like a percentage that you guys feel comfortable with for him paying for your office space, your services, things like that. That's actually something that we're working on at a higher level. Probably won't be rolling it out for a little while, but we are working on something like that for agents, like exactly the avatar you're talking about. They don't want to be out there on their own. They don't want to be recreating the wheel. They want to plug and play, but they're very independent. I mean, this is even more than
That's
our
me.
independent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's what we have.
yeah.
It's like a partner. So I've got two partners that they run their own P&L, but they are paying for part of the services. You can choose. I guess I think I would say too, Joanne, like I asked Sharon, and they don't have the pro teams fully developed yet. They're still trying to figure out some things. That's going to answer a lot of questions, whether it even is a marketing group or not, or if it's just going to be a pro team, like Siri was saying, it's a flat, it's this, and can you be elite? All those things. I think they're trying to finalize those details because you said they don't have it rolled out. I would say there's a lot of us big team leaders doing exactly that, realizing like my partners, they're more productive. They like being part of something bigger, right? They want the collaboration, share the burden. Like you can actually have other people train. So I think that I would say yes, absolutely. And let's figure out how it can happen and just work in the meantime. And it'll be fast. Like there's a lot of people that want that information on the protein program.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
But for now, I would check out the marketing. Yeah, you're welcome. They can do that on the back end for sure. What
Your first-
other what
What was
other
your first
things do you
hire?
guys are?
That was
Oh,
a question
Christian,
too.
are you
Yeah.
asking me questions? Who was my first hire? It's Susie. Susie,
A
our
TC,
TC.
right? A TC.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then when
Susie
did
was
you
there
start
for.
using ISAs?
Oh, okay. So ISAs we started utilizing, what was that, 2020 when we got the Zillow Flex program. I think shortly after that we started having to jump in and get ISAs. So yeah,
You,
and so I'm glad you brought that up because part of what we're going to also show and go over in our next is, some of these like splits. We're going to break it down even more into how do these numbers go out? Because, for example, our ISAs, I pay salary, but then the agents pay the ISA as a percentage, but I'm covering their salary and their benefits.
right.
So how
So
does
you
that work?
charge like a fee on anything set by the ISA that closes to the
Yeah.
agent to offset the cost.
The
Yep.
agents pay, and then it goes all the way down to, is it from the top? Is it off of what number? Like, where is that coming in at? And so we'll go deeper onto some of that in the next session. And actually, our Keely, I don't know if I've told you yet, but you're going to be on the next one, and you're going to be breaking this down. So
I keep telling Joe, I'm gonna share something really quick. I just want to share an example of what something could look like, just so there's like some visual for you guys. And this is something, this is like, I did this, you can see in 23 at the beginning, and I use it for training. But this would be an example of how you would kind of go about or could go about doing a cost per agent. So as a team leader, I know this looks like really crazy, but like you should get paid something. So if you're looking at what an agent costs you, there should be some sort of like I started at 65. I made $65,000 for many, many years as a team leader.
Mine hasn't changed over 5 years. I've kept the same salary. Yeah.
I got a raise last year. I was like, I'm done.
Oh,
Like,
you
no
did
way.
good.
When I saw the peanut, I mean, what people are making, I'm like, no way. I'm no more. I need more. Um, and then there's like if you have an ops manager, and so I don't have one here because I think in a small team model in the beginning, you don't have that, but you probably have like an admin or an in-person potentially. This is just an arbitrary number, it could be higher or lower in your market place. Some of these are here just to show as it grows, but anytime you're doing salary, the 18% is payroll, but you should always factor in, we can forget some big numbers or get an accountant or somebody to help you with numbers, right? Because it's like, we can just take the straight salary. And that's one thing I learned is this number on ours is huge. Like all the taxes, right? You're like, oh my gosh. If you have like a runner marketing, but you just kind of like all the subscriptions that you may have and looking at all of it. And then you can break it out where you've got cost of an agent or maybe one with leads. And then I think, this is something that it changes over time, right? Because if you have 8 to 15, you're going to get some more salaries in here. You might have a marketing person, 20 to 50, you start having some of these director of training. Maybe you need to have some leadership, director of sales, ops, success. I mean, there's no right formula. It's just kind of
Well,
showing
that looks like ours.
how this tech package. Yeah. I mean,
No, the last
and
one.
that's
Just
the other
it gets beefy, you guys. It gets really beefy, those numbers and the salaries and all that. I think that's killer. Are we going to be showing that more the next one? I think
Yeah, and
we'll
I just
be
want to give
opening up
a
more.
preview. I'm
Yeah.
not going to show that, but I'll show something a little bit more too on my end and your end too. That's
Yeah.
kind of detailed, but just to kind of give an example of where we're going with this, but where you could maybe start between now and then is just really thinking about what all would be the cost of running your business and then kind of breaking it down. Because you are an agent, like I think one big different, the tech model. I love that. So the way that like on a Siri, maybe the way you're looking at it is kind of like you're talking about the guy, right? There's like community, someone who just wants to be part of it. They want to come to the office. They want to come to meetings. There's the person that wants like the transaction support, right? And there's a person that wants coaching and training. There's leads. And then there's also tech, like all the tech and systems. So there's really, in my mind, like 5 components when we keep, I know Siri, right? We're all like trying to work this out and break it down. But I think that's, well, here's my, I don't know if I should say it publicly, but some of these people, like there's such an advantage, right, to taking some of these big systems and think about as agents, like the guy you're talking about, the gentleman, Joanne, like, or we're all paying these individually. I mean, we definitely can win, right? By like helping some of these people and offloading it and paying a seat versus like a whole nother platform. And the cool thing is if you grow as a team or as a group, you start to get the enterprise level system, which is awesome instead of just kind of the base grade. But
I have a question for you guys too, if anybody wants to kind of speak on this. How many look at those Excel spreadsheets and go, "Oh my gosh, I'm supposed to come up with this stuff. I'm supposed to figure out these numbers and all of that." I mean, I'm just curious out of transparency. And I say that because that's not me at all. And so if you're struggling with trying to figure all these numbers out, I mean, yeah. Just you need to talk to, like, even as far as you do your taxes every year. So I'm assuming you guys have an accountant or a CPA that you work with. For me personally, I have, a good friend of mine who runs a lot of these numbers. And so he helps me with that. And then Keely does as well. And so I have help, and they know my eyes roll back in my head on those meetings. And in fact, I'm about ready to bounce out of some of those meetings because I trust them and I know that they've got it and they'll come to me with anything else that they need. But that it didn't start that way. So I just had to grab somebody else and leverage them. And you could just literally start with taxes are coming up, just ask somebody like that you know and say, "Hey, I need you to take a look at the health of my company with me, and I need you to help me get this set up, and I'll pay you a flat fee or whatever that is." And then once you do that, you'll start launching into understanding the stuff better. But just grab help if you don't know how to do it. That's what I
okay, do you
did.
want to talk about what we're going to talk about in 2 weeks?
Yep.
Fourth
Yep.
Wednesday.
Yep. Do you want to kind of roll into it? I'm looking
Yeah,
over
so I
here.
think Jill's here and Keely's here. And so what we want to talk about is Sarah and I talked about kind of showing you specifically like that cost of an agent, more just like numbers. And then Jill and Keely are like masters, which we're not, at how do you make sure everyone is getting paid, including the team and including your agents, because how many times do you guys get questions from the agents on a commission? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so just to be able to talk about how they keep it all straight, like what systems they use, what the process is. I think it's like, and again, with pro teams coming and all these different things, I always feel terrible because it's a nightmare, right? You guys, like all the different splits and every sheet and how it all gets broken down and who gets what. I mean, we're playing people on leadership on splits, and it's just like the numbers get really nutty. And that's why it'd be awesome if Pritesh builds something that can just do it and you can check
Yes.
it. Anything you guys want to
Yeah.
add or just say hi? So people who do numbers are not like Siri and I, who like to just sit and chat all day and be like, hey, everybody. They just smile in on. But next time we're going to get them talking. That's why we just at least are on camera and say hi. That's what I thought.
We'll we'll go deeper into the breakdown of all of these numbers, and this is where the girls shine on all of that. Keely, I'm sorry I haven't told you yet, but you're coming on in a couple weeks.
I keep telling Jill, I actually keep telling her, I'll tell her what she's going to talk about when we get there. Right.
Yeah, I didn't know the topic.
Yeah.
I've just heard, I actually like overheard it that I was going to be speaking or being part of it. I'm like, wasn't direct. And then I was like, then I've heard it directly. Still no topic
Okay,
until
so I
today.
don't feel as bad. I don't feel as bad over here either.
No, and we just, well, and I think Siri and I, we wanted to see what everybody wanted and kind of what the conversation was today to like really see what would be most helpful. So if you're on this call, if you're watching the replay, if you're going to come to the fourth Wednesday in February, on Instagram, and maybe Brenna, I don't know if on that, we have that final slide with our contact info. Find us, DM us, our workplace, and what do you want to see? Like what would be the most helpful to you, especially with ops and looking at compensation. So that's where you find us. And then Wednesday, February 28th, the four of us, and Sierra and I will try to talk less and let these gals talk about what they do and how they keep it all straight. So any questions, please send them our way. And thanks so much for watching and joining today.
Thanks, everybody. You guys go kill it today.
Yeah, go kill it.
Go
Bye.
kill it. Go sell homes. Bye. That's what I always say.
So,
Bye.
okay, bye. Go sell homes.
All right. Okay, bye. All right. See you, Beth.
Bye.